for coming. The moderator, the candidates are late, the moderator is angry. But this debate will be 1 hour with the two candidates, Ben and Tim. They were not here early enough to have a flip of the coin to know who goes first. So I will take the option of just asking the first question to Ben. But the format will be as such. There will be opening statements for 2 minutes apiece. And then I will ask the first question. The first one will be to Ben. He will have a minute to respond to that. Can somebody, Professor, could you keep the time? 1 minute to respond at the discretion of Professor Vitasio. And 30 seconds for a rebuttal. And then depending on how that goes, I reserve the right to allow the person who spoke first to speak too if his name has been invoked. So with that, we'll have opening statements.
First off, thank you, Professor Ferson, Professor Rajadurai, for hosting this debate and hosting this really unique program to teach students about campaigns and to teach people how the political operations work. And I think it's a very unique program to Stonehill and Martin. And it's the type of program that the Martin Institute needs to continue to build going forward. And it's the type of innovation and creative thinking that's going to make this institute arguably the best institute in the country. And we're going to continue to grow and go forward and do great things. And I just want to talk about my vision for this institute and this program. It's based on a few things. One, it's based on nonpartisan, unbiased education that teaches students all sides of an issue and encourages them to make their own creative decisions on those issues, as well as to create an environment that's professional and that encourages professional achievement from our students. Just looking at this audience, I see people here who've interned at the State House, who are going to be interning in DC, and these great programs that Stonehill puts on and helps out. And we just need to make sure that we encourage and grow those programs going forward. And on top of it also, I think that we need to unify the Stonehill community. A lot of us just came here from Take Back the Night, where the entire Stonehill community united behind a cause and became a force for good. And that's the type of achievement and cause and activism that this community needs to have going forward. And really honored to be here and look forward to a great debate.
Thank you, Ben. Tim?
I'd like to reiterate my opponent when I say that thank you to both moderators, also to Professor Vitasio, Professor Ferson, and especially Liberty Square Group. They're going to be very influential and very important in this debate, in this race going forward. What this race is about is the soul of Stonehill. It sounds cliche, and it might be, but when it comes down to it, the real change that the mayor of Martin has is not when they get elected, when Ben or I gets elected, whichever one's luckiest, but it comes down to when it comes to this race. This race, we're meeting people, we're interacting with students, we're letting them think about the issues that they might not have thought about before. And through this kind of critical thinking, that's the kind of stuff that we need to foster on Stonehill's campus. And when it comes down to it, the people of Stonehill are going to pick someone whose vision matches their vision. One in which experience matters. One in which, commitment to renewable energy, to sexual assault awareness, things like that matter. So, thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll move to the questions. The questions, I have 10 questions, 5 for each candidate, that have been prepared by the opposing campaign to be asked of their opponent. The first one is to Ben. Ben, in your social media posts, you can come across as mocking of the efforts of some Student Government Association. What do you think is wrong with the SGA, one of the largest and most active on campus?
I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with SGA. I just want to encourage students to get involved and to kind of state their opinions on issues before decisions are made. I think the posts that are in reference came to the issues, I think, to deal with divestment from fossil fuels. My personal stance on it has always been that we need to look at the issue. Students need to make a committed, united decision behind it and get out in favor of discussing it. And when the decision was made, I wasn't very happy with the amount of public discussion that was made on it. And I think that that's something that the Martin Institute can kind of take hold of in the future, encouraging students to get together and talk about issues like renewable energy and the best policies to continue this institution forward.
To your rebuttal?
I would ask my opponent, where is the best place for students to come together? Is it the Martin Institute or is it the SGA? A group of democratically elected representatives from class, from commuters, from every walk of student life. If that's not the best place for students to come together to discuss issues like divestment, which was discussed, And I'd like to also add that you were, commuter center at one point. And if you had fulfilled that term, which I understand the circumstances were such, but you would have understood the greater issues, you would have been part of that discussion.
He asked you a direct question, so give you a chance to answer.
For sure. So the SGA, I think much like national politics, voters are very disenfranchised with SGA. Turnout for the last election was, I think, in the single digits, and that's kind of sad to see that our on-campus government has reflected the national agenda and ideas and the general disenfranchisement with it. And I think that going forward, we need to work together to make sure that we change that, so that Stone Hill student government works for the students and not to pursue their own personal agenda. And I think that that's something that going forward we're gonna encourage. I think this election we could show the Stone Hill community that we're gonna be different, that we're gonna do politics differently, and through that encourage engagement.
Point of information, it was 43% was the turnout, it was the highest ever. So, just saying.
Can I respond to
Sure.
that? Sure. So so the turnout might have been high, but the discussion of these issues didn't exist on social media, didn't exist on many avenues of communication that students want to have. And I think that's also another part of the platform, is to modernize our methods of communications, our discussions. SGA, I think last year or the year before, got rid of probably one of the more convenient ways to do it, which was the listservs. And going forward, I think we should encourage SGA to modernize and talk about these issues in a public forum, instead of in their meetings and then putting meetings at inconvenient times for a lot of people. I mean, I'm a student, I work, I have a job because I need to pay for school, and as a result, the meetings being put on 11:30 on a Monday is kind of difficult for people to get there and discuss it. And I've been active talking about these issues with SGA members. I don't publicize it, I don't try to politicize every action that I make, and sometimes if that makes it seem as if I was kind of uninvolved, I think that's just an unfortunate.
Okay, we'll move on to the next question. Question for Tim. Tim, Ben, a commuter student, says that he's always been active and present on campus and will continue to do so as mayor. What are your plans on campus next fall?
Next fall and going forward, my plans are to remain committed to the clubs I'm on. For example, in terms of that, I will be abroad next semester. I think that's a stated fact. I will be in touch with clubs that I'm involved in, including the Stonehill Democrats and St. Thomas More. But even beyond that, in the spring semester, which I am going to be here, I'm going to remain active on campus. I'm going to come to SGA meetings at 11:30 during the activities period. I will continue to remain committed to the clubs I am on, and yeah.
For sure. So I mean, when I went to DC after I kind of resigned my position as commuter center, I handed it off to students that I trusted in and believed in. Tim in his interview with Sky News said that I was just checking something off my resume. I'm personally unsure what the difference is between my decision to go to DC and his decision to go actually abroad and go across the pond and be much further away from the community than I was. But
Okay, response.
Sure, give 15 seconds.
So as I mentioned in my opening statement, this campaign is about the soul of Stonehill. Real change does not occur when we're elected. Real change occurs in this campaign here. And so the position of the mayor of Martin is not a position that has legitimate codified power. Rather, our power right now is to run campaigns that engage the student body. I feel like that my campaign has done so.
Excuse me. And Tim, the next question is for you as we're rotating back and forth. Anyone on campus can vote for the mayor of Martin. Your stated policy goals include hiring another political science professor and getting new desks for the Martin Institute. Why should non-political science majors vote for you if you aren't thinking of them?
So my main goals are not just focused on the Martin Institute. I hope to increase student dialogue, continue to support expansion and modernization of student resources, in addition to strengthening the Martin Institute. This race is not simply one for Martin. It's also a race, as I said, for this entire campus. When it comes down to it, the most voters are going to be on campus. They're not going to be political science students. They're going to be students who, are in different departments. And I don't agree with that statement at all. I have reached out to other groups on campus as well. So
one of my stated policy goals from the beginning has been about taking Stonehill's message and the activism and the amazing work that we do here and taking it to the country and causing societal change. And as such, we've taken our message off this campus to as many people as we can, this message of inclusion and nonpartisanship. something that Washington and just politics in general has kind of lacked in the last few years, and we've looked to change that, not just here, but across the campus and across the country.
Great. Second question for Ben. The SGA, you touched on this earlier in your answer, but maybe you can expand on it. The SGA recently passed a resolution in support of divestment from fossil fuel investments at Stonehill. You oppose this. Why?
I don't necessarily oppose it. I just wanted to do more research on it before it was passed. I believe in climate change. I've actually worked on several campaigns to ensure that this is something that gets done. Even in my roles as an activist on different Republican campaigns, I've always talked about it, made sure that it's something that's brought up in our meetings and our discussions as a group and a campaign. And I just wanted to make sure there's more discussion on it. We're touching students' money and endowment, and the decisions we make with it, I felt like should have been opened up to the entire student body before a decision was made.
So I stood strong in favor of divestment while sitting on campus, and the reason why is because there was ample student discussion. In addition to that, divestment won't affect student endowment. We've actually had long conversation about this at right around that time. It won't affect student finances in any way. It won't hurt students, and instead it will help the reputation of Stonehill and put forth the same goals for renewable energy that you stated. So.
The third question for Ben. What current on-campus leadership positions do you hold, and how would these influence your role as mayor?
So currently I work on the community council. I was a former chairman of the College Republicans. I resigned that seat because I took on state leadership. I'm still currently very involved with the program here in outreach and discussing current issues with students of both parties and just in general on campus. I think that a part of my appeal as a commuter student is that I am the outsider here. Just because I'm not an establishment candidate involved in school government and like in leadership on school campus, doesn't necessarily affect my ability to do good work for the students.
But you would say that you were in the establishment in terms of the Republican Party. You are the chair of the Mass CR.
So I don't consider my support of candidates to make me establishment. I support candidates whose beliefs I agree with. If you look at my record clearly states, I've worked for candidates that have been anti-establishment in various races throughout my career, and I'll continue to do that. I've been willing to cross party lines in local races, work on allegedly liberal ideas, ensure and to do what's good for the people that I represent.
Maybe I could ask just a definition question. Do you consider a Republican in Massachusetts to be establishment?
No, I don't. But in terms of even this question here, being an establishment on campus isn't a bad thing. Having on-campus experience, knowing the students on campus, understanding the actual issues, that is not an issue on this campaign. I think that the evolution of the idea of establishment, especially from the Rajadurai campaign, is simply a mask to hide a lack of experience on your part in terms of on-campus experience.
And would you define the establishment first?
I think the establishment in general, just looking at how it's been discussed in the past, is kind of a corrupt group of the old guard that kind of gets out and talks about issues and does their work among a small group instead of opening up discussion to the entire community. And I think that's kind of a dangerous way to do democracy.
Do you think Tim is corrupt?
I think that Tim's campaign has certainly done some corrupt things.
Like what?
So we could talk about how you, right before the campaign started, you kind of emailed our people behind our backs. You spread misinformation about me in the past. You blatantly lied about